Immortal and Martial Dual Cultivation. Chapter 23 Meteor Burst. The Xiao clan, within Xiao Chen's isolated courtyard. In the Xiao residence, no one was allowed to have their own courtyard except for certain individuals. These individuals would be people such as an elder in the clan, an important guest, or a disciple of direct descent like Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen carefully observed the inferior grade yellow rank spirit weapon, Lunar Shadow. The saber was 1.2 meters long and 2 fingers wide. Its blade was sleek and streamlined. It seemed somewhat similar to a reaper's scythe, but it was not as long. Shutting his eyes, he sank his consciousness into his body. Xiao Chen carefully inspected the power contained within the saber. A faint energy came from the saber and entered Xiao Chen's body, slowly heading towards his dantian. Slowly, this thread-like energy flowed into the azure dragon martial spirit in his dantian. A stream of essence followed this thread back and entered the saber. Xiao Chen was incomparably happy because this essence that came from the azure dragon was even clearer, purer, and more tyrannical than before. Perhaps it was because the spirit weapon was of a low quality, but the pure essence could only travel via that thin thread to connect with the saber. Xiao Chen could clearly feel that only 10% of the energy from his martial spirit had entered the saber. If his spirit weapon was of a higher quality, then this thread of energy would definitely be thicker. The essence that could be sent back would definitely be more than 10%. He opened his eyes and carefully observed this strange situation. Xiao Chen held Lunar Shadow and brandished it for a while. An electrical glow surrounded the blade, and the shadow of the azure dragon could be seen flashing on the blade's surface from time to time. Ha! Xiao Chen lightly shouted and leapt up ferociously, hacking thrice with the Lunar Shadow. At that moment, something strange happened. Just as Xiao Chen's strength was exhausted, the martial spirit in his body suddenly sent out a stream of energy. The azure dragon shadow on his blade suddenly discharged a surge of energy. This caused the slowly descending Xiao Chen to rise up abruptly. Rising on this energy, Xiao Chen twisted his body in a strange manner, and his body actually rose higher again. An unending stream of matchless and surging energy exuded from the azure dragon martial spirit in his body. Swish, swish, swish! He hacked out ferociously another 3 times. There was a flash of electrical light and a dragon's roar. Even the clouds, thousands of meters above, seemed to rumble as the thunder echoed in the distance. After the 3 hacks, Xiao Chen's body rose even higher. At this moment, he was already more than 30 meters above the ground. This was the first time Xiao Chen had been so high in the air. He could not help but feel anxious and horrified. However, the desire to explore the unknown occupied Xiao Chen's mind. He was filled with a prideful, heroic spirit and vaguely wanted to view the land from the heaven. How high can I, Xiao Chen, soar up into the sky? Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh! Xiao Chen hacked another 3 more times, and his body rose by another 5 meters. Now, he could see half of the Xiao residence. It was a good thing that Xiao Chen's courtyard was quite isolated. Otherwise, given his current altitude, he would have been noticed by someone long ago. He repeated his actions another 2 times. Xiao Chen's body was now 70 or 80 meters above the ground. His essence was already half exhausted. Xiao Chen did not dare to expend any more essence. If he ran out of essence, he would die, or at least be severely injured when he fell. On the spur of the moment, he sheathed his saber and plummeted downwards like a meteor. A formless azure dragon enveloped Xiao Chen as he blasted through the sky, ferociously smashing towards the ground. The wind howled in Xiao Chen's ear as he shouted loudly. He used the momentum of his fall to send out a lightning-fast strike with his saber. Using that boundless vigor, this strike was heavier than 500 kilograms of force. It held great momentum and had a magnificent and unblockable force. Bang! The ground was blasted apart and a huge crater could be seen at the point of impact. Countless rock fragments were blasted into the sky, filling the sky. Upon contact with the wind, the rock fragments immediately turned into powder. In an instant, dust was sent flying everywhere. The entire front yard was decimated. Xiao Chen's 4 limbs were spread out as he lay on the ground. He gasped for air with deep breath. His emotions were hard to describe. Originally, he had just wanted to test out the might of the Azure Dragon Martial Spirit when using a spirit weapon. He did not expect that he would accidentally comprehend a strong martial technique. This martial technique was at the very least a profound great martial technique. Furthermore, this martial technique was created by Xiao Chen himself. It was unique in the Tianwu continent. How could he not be excited? He had to think of a name. Let's call it Meteor Burst. Smashing against the ground like a meteor, bursting forth with the explosive force of a meteorite. Meteor Burst. Meteor Burst. He repeated these names a few times. The more he said it, the more satisfied he felt. However, was this Meteor Burst truly unique in this world? Actually, it was not. The Azure Dragon Martial Spirit was very mysterious. The time when it existed was at least thousands of years ago. Dragons were able to change their size at will. They could fly and swim. When they were large, they were able to swallow clouds and blow out fog. When they chose to be small, they were able to be hidden from all things. They could fly to the 9 heavens or hide beneath the waves. Ascending from the ground and soaring into the sky, this was a very normal thing for the Azure Dragon Martial Spirit. The Azure Dragon Martial Spirit had many mystical abilities and martial techniques. However, due to its mysterious nature, the Xiao clan had lost the ability to pass them down long ago. The Meteor Burst that Xiao Chen had executed earlier was actually a long-lost Azure Dragon Martial Spirit exclusive martial technique, Descending Divine Dragon Chop. This kind of Holy Beast exclusive martial technique was very well preserved in the other clans with Holy Beast Martial Spirit bloodlines. They did not have to figure it out themselves, like Xiao Chen did. When they reached a certain cultivation realm, they could just go to the library to retrieve it easily, as they were a lot more fortunate than Xiao Chen. After resting on the ground for a while, Xiao Chen slowly recovered some of his strength. His face was a little pale. This strike had exhausted too much of his essence. After struggling for a little, he managed to stand up and tidy himself up a little. He then looked at the entrance to the courtyard. He could feel the vibrations of footsteps as a person slowly walked over. The essence in that person's body was weak. It seemed like that person was not a cultivator. After he realized that, he let his guard down. Hey, what happened here? After a short moment, a girl dressed in a maid's uniform appeared in Xiao Chen's vision. The maid looked at the dusty front yard that was full of potholes and cried out. Looking at the maid in front of him, Xiao Chen frowned. What is your name? Who sent you here? The maid looked at Xiao Chen, who was covered in dust. He looked like a madman. She found it funny in her heart, and she said in a quiet voice, replying to second young master, "This servant's name is Bao Er. The first elder sent me to deliver this book to you." Xiao Chen walked over, received the book, and took a look. It was the introductory alchemy book that the first elder said he would give him. His expression turned warmer, and she smiled. Thanks. After thanking her, Xiao Chen turned and headed to the bedroom. He wanted to take a new set of clothes and bathe. He felt very uncomfortable with all the dirt sticking to him. However, the maid called Pao did not leave. Instead, she slowly followed him. Xiao Chen felt that it was a little strange. He smiled as he turned around. Why are you not leaving yet? Are you intending to stay here and bathe with me? Pao blushed, her entire face turning a bright red as she muttered in a soft voice. The first elder told me to come here and serve second young master. He said to do whatever second young master say. If second young master wants Pao to take a bath with him, then Pao does not dare to disobey. What? He had only said it casually, but this girl was actually willing to accompany him in the bath? In Xiao Chen's memory, he did not recall that he ever had a maid that served him. To think that the first elder would not only give him a spirit weapon upon request, but he would also give him books on alchemy. In the end, the first elder even sent him a maid to serve him. However, Xiao Chen enjoyed this idea. It was a pity that it was not a time to enjoy himself. If he gave in to lust, then he might stumble on his cultivation path. There were many experts in the Tianwu continent. Even if you did not mention those from far away, he was not even able to deal with Zhang He from the Zhang clan. How could he last after this little beauty during this time? He could only put up with this and become a wizard. Only when he finally stood on the peak of the cultivation world would he stay and enjoy the scenery. It would definitely be something this small Mohe city could not compare to. How could I, Xiao Chen, be confined to Mohe city? After thinking for a while, Xiao Chen shook his head. I just said that jokingly. Don't take it seriously. I will not ask you to accompany me to bath. Bao's face was already red. After saying those shameful things, her heart was palpitating. She then said in a soft voice, Then does young master have any other instructions? Bao is now young master's exclusive maid. Aside from serving young master, there is nothing else for me to do. Xiao Chen scratched his head, unsure of how to handle this situation. This was a tough question. If she did not bathe with him or sleep with him, what else could she do? If Bao knew what Xiao Chen was thinking, she would definitely be very infuriated. Maids did not exist just to sleep with their masters. They had many other things to do. Only a NEET from the 21st century like Xiao Chen would think this way. Right. Help me go to the city to purchase some herbs, said Xiao Chen joyfully after he thought about it for a while. Too many things had happened lately. He was too lazy to make this trip. Coincidentally, there was now a maid that could help him with this. After the battle with Zhang He and comprehending the meteor burst, he could obviously feel that his essence capacity was insufficient. Whether be it executing a strong martial technique or maintaining a high intensity purple thunder through fire, he could not sustain it for a long time. This was a serious problem. If he had to undergo a long battle or refine a high level pill, his insufficient essence could be his fatal weakness. The only solution to this was to step up his cultivation and quickly cultivate the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation to the second layer. That way, he would be able to store up more essence in his body. When increasing his cultivation speed, aside from hard work, medicinal pills were a necessity as well. Xiao Chen went to get some paper and ink from the study and began to write. Although he was not used to writing with a brush, the original owner of this body was no stranger to it, as he was an original resident of this world. After he finished writing, Xiao Chen blew gently on the paper, trying to dry the ink. He felt satisfied with his calligraphy. Then, he took out his personal seal and gave them to Bao. He smiled and said, "Just follow the list on the paper to purchase the herbs. They are not some rare herbs and should be easily found in ordinary herb stores in Mohe City. Use my seal to retrieve some money from the accounts branch. You can use the remainder to purchase some root or other makeup products for yourself. There is no need to return the change. Bao received the seal while feeling somewhat dumbfounded. She said in disbelief, "Young master, you are asking Bao to run some errands?" The work of a maid was normally to serve tea or water, tidy the house, or assist their master in dressing up. Sometimes, there might be special requests to sleep with their master or accompany them for a bath. These were very normal too. However, running errands, this was normally done by the male stewards. Furthermore, Xiao Chen had a very poor reputation in the Xiao clan. Bao did not expect that Xiao Chen would only ask her to run some errands. "If you don't run errands, then what can you do? Sleep with me?" Xiao Chen smiled. "Why? Are you not able to do it? If you can't, then I'll just find someone else." Bao immediately reacted, her small and dainty face filled with a smile as she said joyfully, "I can do it! I definitely can do it. I'll go do it now. Young master, rest assured, Bao will finish this task beautifully." Watching Bao disappear in an instant, Xiao Chen laughed in satisfaction. It was not bad having a maid. At least, he did not have to bother with things like running errands in the future.